When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Welcome. Today, let's talk about looking at things with new eyes, renewed, differently. My name's Martha Burich, and I have 35 years experience in behavior change. I was a college psychology professor, I was a high school science teacher, and I have been involved with behavior modification and therapy and psychology in some way for more than 35 years. And yes, today I want to talk about what Wayne Dyer used to say: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And let me give you one example from when I was a teacher. I worked with a lot of troubled students, and they were trouble. They were trouble. And they were more trouble when I did not realize that they were only trouble because they were troubled. And when I began to look at them as troubled people rather than troubling students, my relationship with them began to change and their behavior changed. And they saw themselves in a new light. I had one student who was very, very defensive. If he made any mistakes, it just robbed him of what little self-confidence he had, and he had just about zero. And I had to approach him very, very delicately whenever I had to um, correct a mistake on his paper, and especially when it came to math, he would get the wrong answer. So I would have to very delicately show him, well, let's look at this a different way. Um, here's the answer you should have, and here's the answer you got. So let's look at how you got it, and maybe the step that we need to change so that you can come up with this correct answer. And it was very, very difficult um, to help him regain his self-confidence, and because the way he saw himself was in such a scarcity light. He was scarce. He had no confidence. He had no friends. He always saw himself as being less than. So every time he didn't meet any expectation was devastating for him. And more than 40 years ago, Jack Canfield, who has the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, he developed that series. Jack Canfield told us, he used to give workshops to teachers. He said 99% of all criticism is unnecessary. If you're thinking about criticizing someone, think long and hard. Is it absolutely necessary? Is there another way you can say it? Do you even have to say it? Especially with our children, how many times do we think we need to correct them, when in actuality what we really need to do is just keep our big mouth shut and restore the relationship? So always think to yourself, if I say this, will it help matters? Will it increase their self-esteem? Will it help our relationship? Think those things before you open your mouth. This is to anyone: your children, your spouse, your friends, your coworkers. And if you are a manager, you're in a very delicate situation. And they always tell you, if you have to criticize someone, to make it a sandwich. So you have to say something positive in the beginning, slip in the criticism somehow, as nice a way as you can, and then end it with a positive. One time I had a job many years ago. I forgot what I was doing, and the and I was very defensive. And the manager came to me. I had made a mistake, and he pointed it out to me. And I think he was afraid of me because I was so defensive, and I was learning to see things differently. And so I thought to myself, now Martha, if you get defensive, how's that going to benefit anybody? And the fact is, you made a mistake, and somebody had to bring it to your attention because you didn't see it, as I thought to myself. So I turned to him and I said, well, thank you very much for noticing. Most people wouldn't have, which was true. Most people wouldn't have noticed that mistake, which didn't make it any less of a mistake. And he was taken aback. He was surprised that anyone took the criticism. Was he criticizing me? No, he was simply pointing out my mistake. See, change the way I look at things, and the things I look at change. So when I changed the way I looked at things, and I thought, he's not criticizing you. He's pointing out something that needs to be changed. When I was able to change that, I was able to have a new relationship with him and a new response to him. And he didn't have to be so afraid of pointing out mistakes that I had made to him. So when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Just as with that student, just as, with our children, it's very difficult when they make mistakes. We think that we are helping them. If a student comes home and says, so and so doesn't like me, well, if we're viewing it as, well, that's bad. If you're not liked at school, that's a bad thing. Then it becomes a big drama. But if we see it as, well, do you like you? What's most important? You liking you or the other students liking you? So when we change the way we look at things, I was always a loner my entire life. I had two older brothers. They were both social butterflies. I'm still a tad resentful, even though I've grown out of it a little. But I always had one or two friends at a time. My brothers both had lots, and my mother was a social butterfly. Goodness, she was the president of Parents Without Partners. I always felt less than. It took me years to get over it. Absolutely, years. And I took that with me through high school, through college, through most of my adult life. I think I relived high school until I was 50. Until I started to look at things differently and realize that, I'm an introvert basically who learned to be an extrovert, and I enjoy it very much. I love people. I love talking to people, and I had to be taught how. I had to be taught how to say hello. I had to be taught how to say hello. I had a therapist when I was in high school, and I had to practice saying hello to people, and it still didn't cure me. And then when I had my friend Karen, who could talk to anybody, when my son was about 2, so how old was I then? About 30. So then I would still have to practice, and Karen would talk to everyone. And I was like, Karen, how do you do that? She goes, you just talk to them. You just say, hi, my name's Martha, and what a beautiful day. It still took me years to develop that. And then today I was at the Toyota dealer. Thanks for being here, you guys. I really appreciate it. Anyway, today I was at the Toyota dealer getting my car worked on, Matic Toyota. And this woman sat down next to me, and I was going through my purse, and I found something that I had hidden and lost. Of course, I'm always hiding things and losing them. I said, oh my goodness, I wondered where this was. I'm always hiding things and losing them. And she laughed, and the next thing you know, we were having this wonderful conversation the entire time my car was there. And she had horses. We talked about how intelligent horses are, and she told me all about, her horses and her family and her children, and we had a lovely conversation. All because why? Because I said, I was honest about myself, but I thought to myself, Martha, you could sit here with this woman sitting here and not say a word and gain nothing and gain nothing. Or you can attempt to start a conversation. And if she wants to converse, she will. If she doesn't, she'll read a book or something. So guess what? I took a chance and it worked. When you change the way you look at things, people like me, people want to talk to me. The things you look at change. So I had a lovely conversation with her. It makes it so much easier to do things. When I go to the jail, I take an AA meeting into the jail, and those women are beat down. I want to cry just to think about it. They're so beat down. And their constant thoughts about themselves is, you screwed up, you're a loser, you're an idiot, you're never going to come back from this. Because really, right? Doesn't the world say, well, you've been in jail, loser. You're never going to get the job you want. You're never going to get nothing. Well, I tell those women every week, do not believe those voices. And number one, get off your own back. Stop putting yourself down. Stop, because you're not going to benefit from that. You need to forgive yourself and move on. You've got to say, okay, I screwed up. All right, I'm not going to dwell on it. What can I do to make my life better? Because the only thing you can do is right this minute. And For good or bad, right? Jail gives you many opportunities to practice so many things. Practice not opening your big fat mouth. Just because I think it doesn't mean anybody needs to hear it. Practice not getting angry. Practice keeping your opinions to yourself. Practice solitude. Practice meditation. Practice reading when you don't like to read. Practice writing. Practice accepting the unacceptable. Jail gives you many opportunities for that. And luckily, I don't have to go through that, but they do. And the more they can accept, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today, the better off their jail experience is. And many of the women tell me, yes, I use this as an opportunity to grow up. And then they tell me the stories about these, 50, 60, and 70-year-old women in jail who are, it's just like a big high school. Yeah, considering how long it took me to grow up, I don't think I was grown up until I was 50. At least. And, but you know what? Every day I grow up a little, I get a little more mature, a little more mature. But the main thing is that I've forgiven myself. Mostly. I still have things I hold on to, but I'm getting better and better about it because it doesn't benefit me. It doesn't benefit my son, doesn't benefit my animals, doesn't benefit my brother, my family. What benefits other people doesn't benefit other people. If I continue to hold on to things that I think I did wrong, how can I help anyone else? How could I go into the jail and be free and help them to let go of their past if I won't let go of my own? So, yes, I need to, and I to forgive myself so that I can help them forgive themselves. Life is not easy. And you know what? We do stupid things. We do stupid things. Just because, a lot of times we do things we don't know why. You know, we know better. I know better. I know better than to do that. But sometimes I just can't do better. I know better than to eat donuts. I'm going to gain weight. Sometimes I can't do better. I know better than to drink a whole lot of diet soda. And sometimes I can't do better. But you know what? Forgive yourself and move on. And I am doing a challenge. Okay, I have a friend who stopped smoking. Okay, when you change the way you look at things, the way you look at the things you look at change. But smoking to her, she thought was a really, really hard thing. She could not quit. She would not be able to quit. I think she smoked 2 or 3 packs a day because every time I looked at her, she had a cigarette in her mouth. Well, she quit. She quit for 4 days and more. Now it's even been more now. But, she said, you know what? Once I did it, it wasn't even that hard. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I thought, well, you know what? If she could quit smoking, because I quit smoking almost 40 years ago, and it was easy for me. I just one day said, okay, this is all. This is it. My last cigarette. I'm done. And that was it. Well, anyway, so I thought, okay, if she can quit smoking, I can quit sugar for 21 days. I was gonna do one day at a time, and I thought, no, I'm gonna do a 3-week sugar challenge. I can do it for 3 weeks. So I'm on day 4. And sugar is a big, big, big one for me because I used to put, well, up until 4 days ago, I put ice cream in my morning coffee. I'm pretty bad. Oh, shame on me. Anyway, whatever. So I'm learning new ways to get through the day without coffee and my ice cream or donuts. So, and I'm sure it's going to work out. But you know what? If it doesn't, well, I'll start over. I'll start my 21 days over. But I think it sounds like it's a fun challenge. And see, that's another thing. When I changed the way I looked at it, like, oh my goodness, no sugar for 21 days. What am I going to do? No. Instead, I thought, well, you know what? This will be fun. This will be fun. I'll get more self-confidence. Definitely more self-discipline. Oh my goodness, if I could go without donuts for 21 days, I'm the queen. I'm the queen of self-discipline, baby. So, you know what? If you have something that you're dealing with, don't get on yourself about it. Back when I was 16, I wore a size 12. Well, back in those days, you were a moose. A moose if you wore a 12. Everybody else was a 6 and an 8. I used to beat on my thighs. Martha, you're so fat, blah, blah, blah. Did that help me? No, not one bit. So when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Because once I finally decided, you know what, let's go to the gym, let's work out, let's get a personal trainer, let's have some fun, let's make exercise fun. I used to walk during COVID. I walked the dog every day. I lost 50 pounds, but I still had that idea of fat Martha in my mind and gained it back. So then I didn't have to, but I decided to lose it all again, which I did, and I'm losing more because I go to the gym, and I have a personal trainer that I see once a week, and that has just benefited me. And I want you to know, for those who don't know me, I'm 68 years old. Thank goodness for that gym, because I was starting to give up. Like, oh my goodness, you're old. Give it up. Get fat. Who cares? Uh-uh. Uh-uh. No walker, wheelchair, or nursing home for me. So I went to that gym, lost about 40 pounds so far. My mobility has improved tremendously. I walk backwards on the treadmill at 2 miles an hour. I'm really impressed with myself, let me tell you. Anyway, and I want you to be impressed with yourself too. Okay, appreciate yourself. Any little thing you do in the direction of your goal is momentous, And if you have done something and someone else has seen you, you're an example. You're an example. Yes, I can quit drinking. Yes, I can quit smoking. Yes, I can quit overeating. Yes, I can go to the gym. Yes, I can exercise. Diamond Dallas Page, he used to be a wrestler back in the days when I would watch wrestling, and that's another story too. I don't know if you all know Ric Flair. Ric Flair. Oh, I got to tell you this story. We used to watch Ric Flair when my son was a baby. Okay, we would watch wrestling every Saturday morning when Anthony was a baby, my husband and Anthony and I. And I know when Anthony was about, I don't know, 5 or 6, my husband would say, it's like the family joke. He would say, your mother'd leave me for Ric Flair. Woo! I'm cracking myself up. It's so funny to think about. Oh my goodness. And I only watch wrestling, because the boys watched wrestling. Oh my goodness. Oh, what fun. Anyway, so anytime you do any little thing, you have helped someone else. You're an example. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. There are some, we seem to think we have to be smart. We have to be, um, we have to be thin and beautiful, etc., to have this a good life. No, no, just be a good person. Appreciate yourself and appreciate others, and life just gets better and better and better. So start looking for the good. That's another thing. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. We had somebody come into AA. He hated everybody. Oh gosh, to watch him come in, his wife was the same way too. They were suspicious of everybody. They hated everybody. They just thought people wanted to use them and abuse them. And the more he would come to meetings, and nobody wanted anything from him. In fact, what we wanted was for him to be sober and to have a good, happy life. And he started realizing that and coming to more and more meetings, and nobody wanted anything from him. And he was like, oh my goodness, are there really people like this in the world? And then he started thinking, wow, maybe I can help somebody else. And the next thing you know, it took him 6 months, but he finally cracked a smile. It took him 6 months. But his whole world changed. His life changed. His children came to him. They were avoiding him completely. He was so unpleasant. His children now love him, and ask him for his advice. See, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Alrighty, I've got my 20 minutes for today. Thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back tomorrow, but I don't know what time. I can't seem to find what time. I like this late night stuff, but I have to get up early in the morning because I have things that have to be done. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Kathleen and Dave and Shelley and Deborah, thank you so much. And hey, Deborah, you keep it up, girl. I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you. You are doing it. I am so proud of you. You know what my brother Al says? He says, if you don't quit smoking, you might not get cancer, but you're going to be on oxygen. And we've already seen some people. So I am so happy for you. All right, guys. Time's up. Good night. You make it a great, great evening and a great day tomorrow. Remember, look at something differently, especially somebody that you're annoyed with. Look at them differently. Find the good in them and say, you know what? They have to have some good in them. Everybody does, right? Everybody does. And pray for them. Pray that they get everything that you want for yourself. And you know, you do that more and more. And next thing you know, you're like, wow, that person's not so bad. Or wow, I didn't know that about them. Well, that's interesting. Gosh. Next thing you know, you like them and you guys are getting along. Alrighty. Good night. Bye.